U.S. authorities and potentially a U.S. court are not convinced that the Mexicans have a very strong case, that it's very unlikely that she would be extradited.
All right, so it looks like the feds are finally ready to make a serious move in the Shanquella Robinson case after nearly 3 whole years of silence. Brand new documents just hit the surface, and they're pointing fingers straight at the so-called Cabo Six, the group of so-called friends who were with Shanquella during that now infamous trip to Cabo, Mexico, back in 2022.
Information in the Shanquella Robinson case as the FBI releases some of its files after a news media FOIA request. Robinson left her home in Charlotte to take a trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico with 5 friends in October 2022. She died on the trip. The FBI records reveal that on November 9th, a man showed up here to the FBI Charlotte field office to provide information about what he believed was Robinson's murder. Her friends have said Robinson died from alcohol poisoning after a night of heavy drinking, but the medical examiner in Cabo says she died from a broken neck.
These papers ain't just speculation either. They suggest this crew was there when Shanquella lost her life, and they might have had a hand in it. At first, the case looked like it was moving fast. The internet blew up when people saw what went down. Clips, reports, all of it. Folks were shocked and demanded answers, but then things got quiet. Real quiet. Months passed, then years.
When I got there, she was in the game room. They told me she was not feeling good, so I instantly go to her, put on her side, get a bag, and all that. So I'm sitting right next to her the whole time. I was not there till the next day. I didn't see a fight. I didn't know it was a fight. I didn't know it was a video. I didn't know they did any harm, anything. I went in there and told it was alcohol poisoning, so that's what I helped her. That's what I helped her at. I didn't leave her side. I put on soft music. Summer Walker rubbing the head till the nurse came in. It's wrong. And for y'all to be attacking me, an innocent soul, like, I'm really innocent as fuck. I went there to enjoy my birthday. Like, to enjoy my birthday and to really just goddamn have fun. I didn't have not 1 second of fun. I didn't take 1 shot and smoke 1 blunt and didn't do anything.
And everyone started to fear the worst, that this thing was about to turn into another cold case. Meanwhile, the Cabo Six have been out here acting like they didn't do nothing. They've been screaming innocence from the jump, saying they never touched Shanquella. But let's be real. It's looking like they've been straight up lying. Eyewitness reports and new details from the federal investigation just exposed them. They allegedly did way more than just stand by.
You gonna keep it hot, what?
I would keep my hot minutes and I don't want to work with this fuck.
They, what Go said, they crew.
The one that's like mediocre is in my champions. I can't.
Now it's looking like they might have been the ones who set her up from the start. That's the real question now. Was this all part of some twisted plan before they even hopped on that flight to Mexico? Was it all premeditated? These new files are sparking serious questions, and things are finally starting to heat up again. For a while, it seemed like this case was buried, public outcry died down, and the media moved on. But now, the feds are back in the picture, and they're ready to dig deep. And now, it's getting real. The feds just dropped a major update that could finally bring some justice for Shanquella Robinson.
So when they got back from the trip with her luggage, what did they tell you happened to your daughter?
That she got sick from drinking. It was alcohol.
For weeks now, reporters and media outlets have been pressing hard for answers, demanding something, anything, from the feds about where this case was headed. Ever since early 2023, folks have been flooding the system with Freedom of Information Act requests, trying to dig up whatever they could without messing up the investigation, of course. Well, guess what? The pressure worked. Just a few days ago, the feds gave in and released 2 sets of documents linked to Shanquella's case. And even though a lot of stuff was blacked out, what did come out? Wild. Turns out there's been way more going on behind the scenes than anyone knew. One key detail in the docs: about a month after Shanquella passed, the FBI interviewed someone whose name got redacted. That person mentioned the fight and admitted they weren't exactly sure what went down. But here's the messy part. They said Robinson's friends told them she'd been drinking and hit her head on a toilet. Sounds shady already, right? But it gets worse. This same person told investigators they saw photos of Shanquella's body and claimed she had bruises all over like she'd been stomped out. Not only that, they believed there were cameras inside the house. Now here's where things get sketchy. According to official reports, after Shanquella died, no cameras were found in the room where everything happened. None. So now fans and followers of the case are asking the obvious. Did the Cabo Six know about the cameras? And did they remove them before help arrived, trying to wipe out any evidence and keep themselves out of trouble? It's looking more and more like this wasn't just an accident, but something way darker. But that ain't even the half of it. The FBI didn't stop at witness interviews. They also went through Shanquella Robinson's phone. Now, what they found in there is still blacked out in the files, but let's just say it must have been serious. And get this, back in November 2022, just weeks after everything went down, Mexican authorities told the FBI they needed to question someone from the trip to get a temporary detention order. Eventually, prosecutors in Mexico did issue an arrest warrant. But guess what? Nobody ever got extradited. Yeah, you heard that right. No one has been held accountable overseas. And while the FBI documents are still full of redactions, sources close to the case say the hidden info allegedly points straight at the Cabo Six, suggesting they were the ones involved in Shanquella's death. So now the big question. Why did the feds suddenly decide to release these files, even all blacked out, after nearly 3 years of silence? The answer? Shanquella's family. They've been fighting nonstop since day one, showing up, making noise, and refusing to let this case get swept under the rug. And recently, they filed another civil lawsuit against the feds, demanding action. That lawsuit, it might be the very thing that finally got the feds to move. Let's rewind for a second. Shanquella Robinson was a 25-year-old woman from Charlotte, North Carolina, just trying to enjoy a weekend getaway. On October 28th, 2022, she headed to Cabo for what was supposed to be a birthday trip for one of her friends. She left home full of life, ready for sun and fun, just like anybody would before a vacation. But she never came back. She wasn't alone on that trip either. She flew out with 6 people, folks she thought had her back: Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, Elise Hyatt, Dejanae Jackson, her so-called best friend Khalil Cook, and Nazir Wiggins. On paper, it looked like a squad ready to party, but behind the scenes, something dark was brewing. And it wouldn't be long before the truth started cracking through the surface. One detail that really stands out: Nazir Wiggins didn't even land with the rest of the group. He showed up a whole day later, and ever since, he's been saying loud and clear that he had no clue what had gone down before he got there. According to him, by the time he arrived, it was already too late. Things had spiraled, and he walked into chaos he never saw coming. While most of the crew stayed quiet or told different versions of what happened, Nazir stuck to his story. He claimed everything was already in motion when he touched down in Cabo, and from the outside looking in, this just looked like a crew of young adults off on a luxury trip to soak up some sun and celebrate a birthday. But when the truth started slipping out, this was far from a typical vacation. Shanquella Robinson walked into that villa thinking she was surrounded by friends, people she trusted, people she knew. But not everyone in that room had good intentions. And that became crystal clear the very next morning. Out of the whole group, it was Khalil Cook, Shanquella's so-called best friend, who made the first call to her mother. He told her that Shanquella wasn't feeling well, said she was probably suffering from alcohol poisoning. From the way he told it, it just sounded like a rough hangover after a wild night. Her mom didn't panic. They were in Mexico after all. Drinking, partying, it all seemed normal. Plus, Khalil wasn't just some random friend. He was someone the family had known and trusted for years. So of course, she had no reason to question what he was saying. At first. But then the calls kept coming. And the next one? it hit way different. Khalil called again, and this time he told her things were getting serious. Real serious. He said ambulances had pulled up to the villa. Medics were inside trying everything they could to bring Shanquella back. CPR, oxygen, the whole nine. Suddenly, this wasn't about alcohol anymore. It wasn't some hangover. This was something way darker, and it was unfolding fast. What started off as a supposed minor health scare turned into a full-on emergency, and fast. The medics tried everything they could, but nothing worked. Shanquella was officially pronounced dead on October 29th, right around 3 p.m. That alone was tragic. But what made everything so much worse was how the details around her death just didn't make sense. Her family had been told one thing, but as time passed, a much darker truth started bubbling to the surface. The story kept changing. And when you take a closer look at the official death certificate, the lies that Khalil and the rest of the group told, they start to fall apart real quick. The certificate confirms Shanquella was found unconscious, but here's the kicker. Not one single mention of alcohol. Even though Khalil told her mom she was suffering from alcohol poisoning, the official document doesn't back that up at all. If alcohol had played any role, it would have been listed right there, but it wasn't. Instead, what was listed? Something way more disturbing. The official cause of death was a severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, which means a serious dislocation where the skull meets the top of the spine. That kind of injury doesn't come from drinking. It doesn't happen from just falling over or feeling dizzy. That's the kind of trauma that usually involves force. Real force. So now it's not just about inconsistencies, it's about flat-out lies. Khalil's version of events completely falls apart under this new info. His story to Shanquella's mother wasn't just misleading, it was dead wrong. And with this revelation, things start to look way more suspicious inside that villa. Suddenly, this whole trip doesn't feel like some random accident. It feels planned, or at the very least, covered up. And as this evidence stacks up, one thing becomes clear. The truth behind what happened to Shanquella, it's way darker than anybody first thought. And this is where everything started spiraling out of control, especially for the so-called friends who'd been working overtime to cover their tracks. Not long after news of Shanquella's death hit the internet, a disturbing video surfaced, and it completely destroyed whatever fake story they had been trying to push. The footage showed Shanquella being viciously attacked by none other than Dejane Jackson, one of the very people she flew out to Cabo with. And let's be clear, calling it a fight would be a lie. This wasn't two people going back and forth. Shanquella wasn't fighting back at all. No punches, no defense, nothing. She was being brutally beaten while totally helpless. But what really made people's blood boil? The others just stood there and watched. Not one person stepped in. Not one tried to stop it. They didn't pull Dejane off of her. They didn't check on Shanquella. They recorded it. Like it was a joke. Like it was something to post online. And then there was Khalil Cook, the same dude who called Shanquella's mom, acting like he was concerned. In the video, instead of helping her, he had the nerve to say, "Quella, can you at least fight back?" Like she had any chance of defending herself while getting jumped like that. That clip? It changed everything. It blew the lid off the lies and showed the world the real story. Shanquella didn't just get sick, and she didn't pass from alcohol poisoning. She was attacked, viciously, and the people who should have protected her, they let it happen. And then they lied about it. What was supposed to be a birthday trip turned into a nightmare. And now the world knew the truth. This wasn't an accident. This was violence, caught on camera, while the people she trusted the most just stood by and let it go down. Turns out, Shanquella was never truly safe around that group. One witness even said she looked completely out of place at that villa, like she didn't belong with them at all. And what the Cabo Six allegedly did after she was pronounced dead, cold-blooded. According to that same witness, I left that area and stayed outside the main entrance to give them space to mourn and grieve. Minutes later, I heard laughter. Laughter, while her lifeless body was still inside, while her mother was being called and told the lie that Shanquella had died from alcohol poisoning. They claimed it was just alcohol, that she got sick from drinking. But we now know none of that was true. Mexican authorities didn't play around with this case either. They immediately said they were treating it as femicide, a serious crime under Mexican law. They even released an official statement saying, "This case is fully clarified," and confirmed that an arrest warrant had been issued for the crime of femicide, naming a friend of the victim as the direct aggressor. Not a random accident, not a fight, but a direct attack. They went on to say that extradition was already in motion. Interpol had been alerted, and since both the victim and suspect were American, the paperwork had already been sent to the United States for action. But here's the problem: the U.S. authorities. They've been moving slow, real slow. That delay forced Shanquella's family to go public with an open letter, calling out the U.S. government and directly naming the suspect that Mexican officials identified. The letter laid it out plain and simple. The viral video showed Shanquella being assaulted while naked in the villa. The attacker, identified as Dejane Jackson. Mexican law enforcement issued the warrant. And yet, she fled back to the U.S. with the rest of the group like nothing happened. So the question is, why hasn't justice been served yet? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Should the U.S. have moved faster on this case? Do you think all 6 should be held accountable? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you're keeping up with the case. Drop your thoughts below, and I'll catch you on the next one.